Well, kia ora and welcome to Uncovering Authenticity, where I get to the heart and soul, the core of amazing people who have amazing stories doing amazing work out there in the world. That's a lot of amazing. Today I am delighted to have here in the studio. He is a man of many parts, some of them still in perfect working order. He is Mr. Jon Randles, business coach.
Wow.
Woo! Today, I feel, and I say this every episode, but I'm really feeling it today. I feel like we should have a big stadium arena of people ready to hang on your every word, because you're quite fascinating, Mr. Jon Randles.
I'm probably, am I ready for an arena? Or maybe just a big stage at this stage, yeah.
Yeah, I think just do you. That's probably the most important thing.
And I'll just do the room.
Yeah, do
now,
the room. Do the
where
room.
we are.
Feel the room. Look, you're interesting to me.
Okay.
You are interesting to me. I love your vibe. I love how when you get up and speak with members of the same B&I group, you have empathy for people, you're entertaining, you're very, very educational. But most importantly, I love that you cut straight to the chase about wanting to help businesses grow. You help businesses get, what's your tagline?
I help businesses grow faster. I help business owners grow their businesses faster than they would by themselves.
Yeah, see, that's beautiful. That's a really strong tagline. What's the origin story? We were talking about origin stories before the chat. What is your origin story?
So, it's funny I'm here because, again, I'm in my uni time. My degree was in literature and classics, and I didn't like business. Like, I was an anti-Nike. I remember marching in Wellington, like anti-Nike things. I was just following the group really, but it was just not something I really got into because I thought business was about that ivory tower.
Right.
And then I started working with Hell Pizza when they opened their second shop in Wellington. And I saw these young guys in their sort of late 20s just, starting this cool thing. And I was like, can business be cool? And I thought, wow.
Oh, fun.
And I really, it's funny, they've been a big part of my life, sort of the whole journey, but watching these guys and go, is that what business is? Like, you can be, you can help young people, you can give people jobs, you can train people, help, people change their stage. My younger brother, who, again, same background, he had a religious studies degree, I think of all things, ended up opening a Hell Pizza franchise, ended up having 3 of them.
That's really ironic, right?
Ended up running one in London, and it's been a big part of his journey because he kind of got, trained underneath this. And so that's probably one of the first things that got me interested in business in the first place.
And so where did you go from there? What was your next step? Because you're going, oh, cool, I'm working for this franchise.
They weren't even a franchise then.
Wow.
So all that happened during my next step. So there's no job at the end of a literature and classics degree. So I found out about a Japanese government program that would take grads from English-speaking countries from around the world to Japan and insert them into communities to teach about other countries and into the schools to teach with the language.
Oh, wow. So that's where your educational self started developing?
Yeah, and I didn't want to become like a backpacker English teacher. I wanted to do it well. And so I did a course through Cambridge University. They reckon that there's 2 English language training certificates that actually mean something. Like, you can do a TEFL course online or whatever. So one's through Cambridge, and I think the other one's through Trinity College or something.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's an intense training, and it's how to teach to adults, not just the language stuff. So I took that information, and in the businesses that I've been part of later, all the stuff I've learned about how to run a room, how to run a workshop, came from that sort of Cambridge training.
Wow. So you ended up in that space. You ended up changing lives through language. Through stories, of course.
Yes.
And we're both, passionate about stories as well. Where did that journey take you next?
So IRD sent me a letter saying you owe $38,000 for your literature and classics degree. And so I didn't really understand money. I'd been to teachers college for a year before going to uni, and I dropped out. This was the day you could get your student loan through the ATM machine. Like you could actually just get more money. And I would buy CDs and posters and sometimes substances that you shouldn't have necessarily bought.
Yeah.
And so, and in those days, the interest just ticked up as soon as you took it out of the machine. So interest was growing, and I had no understanding about money. So interest is growing. And then I did my degree, and yeah, like I played football. I had a part-time job playing football at uni, but it didn't really cover things, so I borrowed a little bit more. And then, so classics degree, the end of the degree, they said, we're going to choose some people to go to Greece for 6 weeks for the next stage of, and so I got a scholarship, but also I put more of it on my loan because I didn't know what it meant. So stacked up, and so by the time I'm in Japan, because I'm overseas, IRD are chasing me.
Oh wow!
And they're saying you owe $38,000, and I went, okay, shit. I need to learn about money. And I started reading some books, and a friend of mine was buying an investment property. And I said, what a grown-up. Can I get in on that? And so I started reading property books.
Oh, wow.
And then so we bought an investment property, and then we did a land deal. We bought some land and ended up doing a deal. And in one foul swoop, we made $100,000. And
wow.
So I took a chunk of mine, paid off my loan, and then we had a little bit more for future. So I thought it was going to be a property magnate.
Wow. So did that give you sort of your first taste of business?
Yeah. And I liked it. So I realized I've always liked numbers. I have an affinity for numbers, particularly when they've got a dollar sign in front of them.
Yeah, we like
that's
that.
quite helpful.
Yeah.
So I thought this is where I wanted to go. This is what I wanted to do. So I was living in Japan, moved back to New Zealand, got involved in property investing, did some courses, paid money, did the stuff. At one point, I think we had like 7 or 8 rental properties. And then the GFC happened.
Oh, wow.
And these assets became more like a noose around my neck. And instead of the money coming in, money had to go out. And a lot of people smarter than me, wealthier than me, really, lost their shirts at that time. And we luckily were, small enough that we were able to sort of just scrape by. And it took ages to get out of that kind of situation.
Yes.
But it moved me from focusing on property to wanting to focus on business.
Right.
And I'd moved back to New Zealand to work in the bank to learn about property. And so I switched from personal banking to business banking.
Gotcha. And so from there, because you opened a pretty big digital agency as well called Mosh, who I'd heard about for a long time. I'd seen ads. I got served ads all the time. I remember seeing the sign down on Cape Road when the Iron Bank building. How did you go from business banking to Mosh? What was the step there?
So my property friend and I were like, right, let's get into business. And so we looked at a few different things. I'd done some stuff by myself earlier to no success. We looked at a residential home. We looked at an import and export of Thai furniture.
Oh, wow.
And then we had a great idea, which was going to be delivering food to households, to busy households. So it was my food bag 2 years before my food bag. And because we'd seen it in Japan. Wow. We'd seen that working. Yeah. And so we started to research it. We bought the domain Mosh because it sounded like Nosh.
Yep.
And Nosh was doing really well at kind of the time.
Yeah.
And when we didn't have a Teresa Gutting to bankroll us. So logistically, it was just going to be too expensive. And then my business partner, he was doing his MBA at Auckland Uni. He saw social media as this big wave coming.
Yep.
So this is 2009. And he's like, let's put a business in front of that wave. And I was like, great. Don't know what that means, but sounds good. And so rang up my friends from Hell Pizza and said, hey guys, we want to do your social media for you. And they said, we don't know what you're talking about, but go for it. So for 6 months, we did Hell Pizza's social media for free as we sort of got on board. They became our first client, and they've been with Mosh for 15 years.
Oh, my goodness. Wow, because their socials are great.
Yeah.
Wow, and that's Mosh.
And I think a big thing, I knew the voice of the company because I'd been part of it from the early days. And so even when we got bigger, even when we had more staff, I couldn't let go of the doing the Hell Pizza work. And it took, it was a lot of pressure. And when I had to let go, and this is the thing about business owners, it can be hard to let go.
Yes.
No one can do it as well as you can.
Yes, that's right.
Until you get out of the way and you realise actually more can happen sort of from this. One of my favourite stories, so the Hell Pizza founder, Callum, he was a one-man band, and I remember the story, I think it's true, I think he told me, that he'd said to his business advisor, no one can do as well as I can. So, I don't want to bring people on because they can't do as much as I can. Mm. And the guy said, could you find people who can do 80% of what you can do? And he said, yeah, I could do that. Can you find 2 of them? Yeah, I can do that. Well, that's 240% of what's currently happening. So that's what you need to look at. And boom, they're big. There's more than one shop now.
Wow, yeah, they're absolutely massive. What I love about these chats is that the entrepreneurial journey is never linear. It's very rare that I hear a true entrepreneur going, I just did this and then I just did that.
And then it went like that.
It's almost like you're going down a pathway, that there's some sort of end destination, and it's going to be either working with people or working in digital or something or whatever the end destination is. But it's almost like you go down so many side alleys and I know this from my own experience as well. I'm a trained actor and speaker. Well, what did I do? Worked in retail and sales, because it was a performance for me. So it still was a transferable skill.
Strong soft skills.
Yeah, that's right. So how did you move then from Mosh to becoming a business coach? Obviously, you've got this wealth of business experience.
Yep.
Where did the transition happen?
So along the Mosh journey is we looked really good on the outside, and on the inside was struggling. So cash flow, financials, just not strong in that department.
Yep.
And we had big blue chip clients, but there's no money in my pocket. And then we had an advisor come into us who had done some training through the Trusted Advisor Network that I'm part of. And he didn't really know about our industry. But what I say, like he shone a light onto areas we hadn't really looked at and then held up a mirror to say, are you going to be responsible for it? Wow. And within 12 months, we went from 6 figures in the red to 6 figures in the bank account. The net profit went 870% growth in 12 months. And so it just showed me what was possible. Like the impossible was possible. So I was able to step out of it, and the business you run. So again, my business partner is a very smart, capable man. He runs the business, and I was thinking, well, what am I going to do then? So we didn't really need my role anymore. Business came into Mosh, and I was doing the business development side, like the sales side. But if I really turned myself on, the business couldn't handle it. We couldn't handle that amount of work coming through. So I kind of for a little while was thinking I'm not fulfilled. And so when I did step away and thinking, what shall I do? Again, the guy who was the advisor for us said to me, you should be in business coaching, business advising, talk to Will, the guy behind the Trusted Advisor Network. So I spoke to him, and it's everything that I've wanted. So I get to talk to people about business, which I didn't think I used to like, but I love it. And I get to help or take them out of themselves. I get to help them see the impossible as possible and make that switch or that journey. One guy that I have just sort of started working with 6 months ago, and I spoke about this morning, he was not turning a profit, so he was sort of going backwards financially. He wasn't paying himself. He hadn't been paying himself for a little while. And then over the last 6 months, we've done some changes, and he's been able, in 6 months, he sort of posted a $75,000 net profit, and he's paying himself a 6-figure salary.
Wow. So he's gone from never being paid a salary to doing that and a profit.
Yes.
In 6 months.
And he'd been in business for 10 years.
Wow.
So he'd kind of lost he will say it, he sort of lost the passion for it, and direction just wasn't good. And so, it's not me saying, here's what you should do. It's me holding up a mirror, holding up a spotlight, and saying, you're going to be responsible for this. And I said to him, what do you attribute the changes to? And he said, well, I'm as busy as I was, but I'm focused on different areas. And that's what I said about the start. Like, I help business owners get better results faster than they would by themselves by focusing on what's actually important.
Whoa. Wow. Because I was just about to ask you, what do you think were the things that happened that enabled him to make such a transition? But it's actually really simple by the sounds of it. Well, it's not simple. It takes an expert to be able to hold up that mirror and shine that light.
And I think every business owner can relate to this. So they can get stuff out of their head, and we can wrestle with it, and then we can put down tasks with dates. So when you're busy, you just want a task with a date. You know, that's what you want to focus on. You don't want to have an existential, well, should I be doing that? Should I be doing that? And so business owners tend to zigzag. I go, I should do this, and then I should do that. I should do this, and then I should do that. Instead of, coming and going, okay, you should do that. Next week, you should do that. Next week, you should do that.
Beautiful.
And again, I don't have all the answers. They will often have the answers, but I have to pull them out of their head and clarify. Like, we've got to clean up what's in here. Yeah. And make it really simple.
I'm wondering. I'm supposing a few things here. I know, because having been an educator myself, there's something to be said for a learning pathway, as an example, a progression of learning. And I know with my own clients, when I'm coaching them in speaking, as an example, I know that over a series of 10 coaching sessions, we do this part, and then out of that comes new outcomes, and I know that we set these new outcomes for the next thing. It's very much that. Yep. So it's linear in that respect, but their growth and their pathway could take sort of all sorts of twists and turns. Yep. Do you think then, as a business coach, that educational experience that you've had really comes to the fore to create that business transformation? Is some of that happening? So, because it makes sense to my brain.
Yeah, and I 100% think so, because it's one thing to have knowledge, it's another thing to be able to transfer that knowledge to someone else.
Yeah, beautiful.
And that's where that teaching and training is really helpful. And one of the most powerful things I learned from that Cambridge course, and it's one of the most powerful things in coaching, is eliciting a response. So instead of me giving the answer, I'll ask the question so that they come up with the answer. And one of the things my coach man says, it's not true unless they say it. So I want my clients to come to the realization and then it's true, and then it's theirs, and then they
And
own
they've got
it.
ownership. Yeah, that's
Totally.
right.
So again, there's the passion, there's the drive, there's the energy, rather than someone going, do this, do that. Why didn't you do that?
And there are quite a few people out there who are like
100%.
that. And yeah, if somebody did that to me with someone who deals with pathological demand avoidance,
Yes.
if somebody said, you need to do that, I'd be like, well,
Yeah.
look in the different direction.
I am not driven by that. I'm driven by my own individualistic tendencies, and I want to help the people that I work with draw on themselves. And what's your way? So again, I'll just hold up the mirror, I'll shine the light, and you'll come up with where you need to go.
That's just beautiful.
I'll make sure you're aiming for that North Star. So we create a North Star, and I'll make sure you're on track for it. But how you get there, it needs to come from within.
That's just, what a delight you are. You are just a delight. So I guess I always wind up in these conversations. These podcasts are about authenticity and that they are non-scripted either. I have no idea where I'm going to go on this journey. I'm just deeply curious about humans like you are.
Yep.
And I guess I always sort of finish up with some sort of wisdom or something that is truth for you, because you've been here, you've been present with me, you've been open to whatever question. You have no idea what I'm going to ask you.
I have no idea what you're going to ask me.
And I want to know what is your truth? What is your authentic self wanting to say, to share some sort of lived, learned, experienced wisdom, as if this was your Oprah moment, this from that vulnerable, beautiful core of who you are.
So I remember writing this down, probably in my 20s, probably in my happy times, that experience is life. And so we need to create experiences or have experiences or try things in order to live. So take the step. You need to, what's the next step? That's all you need to do. Just take the next step. We don't need to know how far it goes. We don't need to know how long it takes. Just take the next step, and that will open all these different doors that didn't exist until you took the step.
That's just beautiful. Beautiful. And that's why I love these chats. Every time I talk to someone, I learn something new. I learn some sort of piece of wisdom, and I find so much peace from that wisdom. So thank you, Jon, for sharing your wisdom today. I've just absolutely loved this. And if people want to find out more about how you can help them, where do they get in touch with you?
Probably the easiest place is jonrandles.co. Jon. Randles is just like handles, but with an R.co.
I love that. I nearly said, when I heard that, I nearly said Randles with a J, but that would be Jandles.
That's right.
Look, I just want to say, don't do that. You've heard it here. I'm so delighted that we've had this conversation today. Remember to get in touch with Jon Randles, Jon, Randles like handles, but with an R. Yeah. Look, Jon, thank you so much. I'm delighted in it, and I hope to see you again, and best of luck with all your endeavours.
Wonderful.
Kia ora.